Hey parents and coaches, are your kids using the right glove? The most important skill for youth athletes to learn is how to play proper catch. The problem is, most youth gloves are made with bad leather and are too big for small hands. They actually make it harder to play catch. That's why former Major League Baseball shortstop Kevin Smith created Cali Gloves. Cali Gloves are crafted from 100% Japanese kip leather and are the perfect size for kids. All Cali gloves come with palm slits, finger loops, and elastic wrist lacing that encourage proper hand placement, the right closing patterns, and give kids more confidence to go make plays. Cali gloves even allow parents to break in the glove without stretching out the fit. It's the glove Kevin wishes he had growing up, and the glove all his teammates want for their kids. Visit CaliGloves.com to learn more and help your kids play better catch. That's Cali Gloves, Kali Gloves.com.
Welcome to this week's edition of In the Clubhouse with EMD Baseball. I'm Andy Kirikides, joined by my wonderful co-host, Keith Glasser. How we doing?
Great, how are you?
This is one of my favorite topics that we have to explore every single year because our job is to educate and to make people think critically about this process. And I find that we have to continue to circle back to this specific topic because for some reason, people can't get it through their heads that Division III baseball and junior college baseball are not fallback plans or places where bad players go. This idea that there's a fit for everybody, I think me and you have talked about this, that there's a program out there for everybody. I don't think that's true. When you're talking about 8, maybe 10% of kids playing in college, the filter is pretty fine. It is very difficult to play baseball at the collegiate level, regardless of what division you go to or junior college or NAIA. And this one, honestly, having coached and played at the Division I level and coached at the Division III level, this one kind of pisses me off when I hear people talk about, oh, well, name Division III program. Oh, well, he's better than that. No, he's not. Like most of the people who have this opinion, and I might ruffle some feathers with this. There's a lot of people who have this opinion that Division III baseball is not good. Most of them have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And this comes from people who are in the baseball world and they don't know the level of play that happens at those institutions. And it's frustrating for me being in this position we are now, trying to help families navigate this, that you have to constantly combat this idea that Division III sports is like intramurals. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think the quicker that people realize that in order to play college sports, it's hard enough, and to seriously take into consideration Division III and junior colleges, specifically junior college, I think is something that's extremely overlooked. It's frustrating to me that people view these as fallbacks in a place that like, well, I'll just go and they'll let me on the team. Like, it's not how it works. Not how it works at all. I'm done.
Sorry for the pause there. I was fighting for my life to get back to the unmute button there. I fought this for years, right? Like I spent 10 years at the Division III level. I spent a year at the Division II level. I've said this on here that I think that no one really understands how good you have to be in order to play college baseball at a high level. The fact of the matter is that, 8% of high school student athletes that play baseball are going to play in college. That means 92%. And I said this before, I'll bump it to 10 for NAIA and JUCO, but 90% are not going to play. So if you're on a high school team and you have 20 guys, there's 2 guys on that team that could potentially play college baseball. It's a low number. And this idea that, everyone is a Division I baseball player is just A fallacy, and B, not realistic. There's only 34 spots on what, 300-ish programs in the country, right? What are we up to? It was like I think we jumped till about 300. So, you're talking about 10,200, if my calculator is correct, ish, student athletes that can play college baseball at the Division I level.
At any given time.
At any given time.
So you're looking at what, roughly, we'll call it.
Divide that by 4, it's 2,500.
Yeah, I was going to say
2,500 high school seniors and junior college guys that are going to go play college baseball at the Division I level. If everything is equal, but give or take, it's going to be about 2,500 a year. And it's something like 400,000+ high school seniors play college baseball or play high school baseball. So like the numbers don't bear it out that everyone is a Division I baseball player. And it's just simply not true, right? Like, if you watch enough of this, you know who they are. And if you're objective, you can look and be like, yeah, no, that's likely a Division I guy. And as we've talked about on here, the floor has gotten higher. It's harder to be a Division I guy nowadays than it was 10 years ago. And that's good for the game of baseball. It's good for college baseball. But also understand that if the floor to play college baseball at the Division I level has been raised, it's been raised at the Division II and Division III and junior college levels as well. Because the guys that used to be able to play Division I baseball are now playing Division II and Division III baseball. And those guys that used to kind of be roster fillers at the Division III level aren't there anymore. Because the guys they're now playing, either at a high-end Division III or, maybe up. So, junior college and Division III are not a fallback of like, well, if I don't play Division I can certainly make a Division III team. Like, nah, that's not the case. Like, if you're not a Division I guy, like, there's probably going to be some deficiencies in your game. And depending on how bad or how big those deficiencies are, you might not be good enough to play at the junior college level or the Division III level. Because they have guys that can do it. And, hey, maybe you may make a roster, but you ain't walking in there and starting day one, right? There is a steep learning curve in college baseball. So, in the junior college level, there's dudes getting drafted out of junior college every year. Go look at the rosters of the LSUs, the Florida States, the Arkansas, the Texases, go look in the SEC and the ACC. They're littered with junior college baseball players, which logically would then tell you that the junior college baseball that these guys are playing are likely pretty good. If they're good enough at that junior college to end up in the ACC or the SEC, they're probably pretty good baseball players. And the level of competition that they're playing against is probably pretty good. So, it's not just Division I, too, right? Like we talked about this with Fuller a couple of weeks ago, and I've said this before. Division II baseball in the Southeast is big boy, real deal baseball. I mean, we were junior college heavy recruiting when I was at West Alabama, but we were as high as 6th in the country under Gary Rundles, and we had dudes. We had guys with serious draft interest. We had All-Americans. We played in a regional with a bunch of guys that got drafted. Tommy Canley was a big leaguer. There were dudes all over that the Southeast Division II, in the Tampas and the Nova Southeasterns and the Linns and the West Alabamas and the Delta States and the Valdosta States of the world. And I'm probably leaving some out, but there's dudes down there that can flat out play. And, kind of this idea that well, if I'm not a Division I guy, I can find a spot. I'm not of the belief that there is a spot for everybody. I am of the belief that if you have the requisite skill set to play college baseball, you can likely find a place to be able to play. Obviously, it's going to have to match your academics and the stuff you want to do, but the idea that just anybody can play college baseball if you want it hard and bad enough, just I don't subscribe to. And that might fly in the face with some people, but if you're a 5'9", 130-pound right-handed pitcher who's 68 to 70, there's not a lot of places for you out there, if any, to play college baseball. And that's just the reality, right? Like, I can't play in the NBA as a 6 foot. I never played basketball, so that's probably a bad comp. But like, I can't play in the NBA. I'm not good at basketball. That's just the reality of the situation. Like, your path is eventually going to end, unfortunately. And sometimes it's after high school, sometimes it's during college, sometimes it's after college. For me, for you, it came when we graduated college. Like, we didn't go play beyond college. That was when I hung up my cleats and I never played baseball again. And that's just what it was. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. You were too. And I don't take that for granted that we were, looking back on it 20 years later, that we were fortunate enough to be able to be Division I baseball players and, play in a regional and have a lot of success and be very proud of our alma mater, as I'm repping the Foxes tonight. But I never really had, I never thought that I was just going to fall back into Division III. And I think the older I've gotten, the more I coach, the more, especially now, I realize that, to be in that 8%, you have to be a pretty good baseball player in order to find yourself in that 8% to play Division I, II, or III. And, I would encourage many people to shift your mindset away from I'm settling for Division III to I am fortunate enough to be able to be good enough to play at this level. Because I think you're going to be very surprised if you make a Division III roster, how good a lot of those guys are and how good the competition is that you're going to roll out there and face.
Well, and I think we've seen this firsthand, and I think it's important context as a part of this conversation, is that we've lived this, right? We're not making these statements without having seen it. And I think that's the troubling thing for me, is that there's people out there who bark from above about, well, that kid's better than that program, or he's better than that level, but you don't know anything about that because you've never seen it. Your only reference is, well, I've seen some kids who've played at certain levels. Well, yeah. Well, one, this is a constantly evolving process, right? The kids who were Division I players 10 years ago, a lot of them aren't Division I players now, right? But it's constantly evolving. It's a moving target at all times. And there's nuance to this conversation because we like to throw these convenient, easy labels on top of this conversation, that Division I and Division II and Division III. But you're not digging deeper into the quality of a program, right? And sometimes it's not judged purely by velocity and exit velocity in 60 times. It's, does a program win? What are the pillars of that program? What does the coaching staff look like? And me and you know this. There's Division III coaches that are as good as anybody in the country, and there's Division I coaches that it's laughable that they get paid what they do to do what they do. And everywhere in between. And
to be fair, that's true in every walk of life.
Yeah. But me and you, we've lived this, and I think it's important. And I'll reference this back to coaching in the Liberty League, which you're obviously intimately familiar with. There was guys in that Liberty League every single year who were the better players in that conference that were 100% good enough to play at Division I baseball.
1,000%.
Every single year. I had guys at Vassar who could go and play at the Division I level. I think back to some of the really good RPI teams, the really good. Ron had it going at Skidmore while I was there, and they're running out dudes who were 87 to 89 at the time.
Ron had a 12th round draft pick 2 years ago.
Yeah, Joe Reynes had draft picks coming out of Rochester.
Nolan Schultz just got popped 2 years ago. He was 94 to 96 and absolutely electric on the bump.
Yeah, and we speak this because we've seen it and we know it. And can all Division III players play at the Division I level? No, that's not what we're saying. But underestimating
they're there.
Underestimating the quality of play is where people get lost in this process, and they skip the fact often that you need to be a really good high school player to play in college, period.
Mm-hmm.
At any level. But the nuance of that conversation is being a good high school player doesn't qualify you to be a Division I player.
Yes.
Hitting 400 in high school doesn't make you a Division I player. Just because the Division I player on your team hit 390 and you hit 400. That's not how this works. It's not that simple. So,
no. And I think that it's, you saw it, I think, during COVID too, right? Like, there's guys from Rochester, the Whitley kid who ended up having a really good career at Richmond. I had Ryan Yerby who had a great year at San Francisco, and Chris Groom had a good year at Delaware. There's a lot of guys who had jumped, because they had the capability of doing so and had a really good year or two at the Division I level. Now that said, and this can devolve into a longer thing that we're probably going to talk about here in like 5 minutes on a different podcast. So stay tuned. But those guys had developed into that over the course of 4 years at the school, where they, eventually got to the point where they were that good. Not to say that like they were not that good when they set foot on campus, but by the time they graduated, with the amount of playing time that they had, the amount of innings they logged, the amount of at-bats they had, like they were able to make that jump. That's not the same for everyone. It's not to say that my point is trying to emphasize what you're saying. It's not the same for everybody, but there are going to be guys that have that capability after having the amount of time they play at that level of being able to do that. It's not going to be everyone. They're outliers amongst outliers. So, there's that too, but, I just like, it's riddled with talent. Like, show up and watch some of the top 25s. If you live in Florida, go to the Russ Matt tournament, see some of the better teams that are playing down there. Like, there's dudes all over the place that can flat out play.
100%. Don't sleep on it. Don't consider it to be a fallback plan. And honestly, if you're too high and mighty to play Division III baseball, then you probably don't want to play baseball bad enough. I'll say that. If you think you're above junior college baseball, you don't want to play baseball bad enough. Yeah. This is not for and that's the other thing. We'll talk about this later, but like I'll leave it at this. College baseball is not for the faint of heart. If you don't want to work at it and you don't take it serious and you think that you're above a certain level, then you're going to have a tough go of it anyways.
Yeah, and to be fair, or I don't even know if it's to be fair. To be honest, that's true of any sport. If there's parents that are listening that have kids and not playing baseball, they're playing other sports. Maybe one of your kids plays baseball, but that's true of every sport. Like the time commitment alone is a lot. And what you're going to be asked to do is more than you've ever been asked to do before in your life. So there's a lot that goes into it. That is, if it's not really ultimately if it doesn't drive you, and it like if you struggle as a younger kid to really find a drive to do it, you're likely not going to last that long in college athletics. That's just the fact. And it's sniffed out quick.
Oh, yeah.
We know as coaches, the guys who did nothing over summer break or winter break, it's readily apparent the second I see you at practice.
Yeah, we lived it. We every single year at Marist, we would have a freshman come in and go, you know what, I don't want to work this hard at it. I'm all set. I'm just going to go to school. It's not for everybody. As it should be. It shouldn't be. It's a privilege, not a right, to play college baseball, and you got to earn it. So, all right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Tune in next week. We'll talk to you then. Thank you for listening this week. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash that like button for us. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at EMD Baseball. If you want to find out what me and Keith do to help families and players navigate the recruiting process, go ahead and check us out on emdbaseball.com. take a few minutes to check out our new online academy. I promise you'll get some good information out of that. Thanks again for listening. Check in with you next week.